It's the GAA Social on BBC Sounds, and we are back again for another podcast. Oisin, how are we?
Tommy, how are you?
Life good?
Nice new runners.
Yeah. Good you goodies, yeah.
Wee bit of a sponsorship deal, maybe?
No, that's why they'll not be in shot. You have to keep them down low. No big brands. You're not allowed to do that in the BBC.
Very fancy now.
Yeah. So you're St Bernard.
Who's backing
jumper.
you? Who's backing you now?
Yeah, I'm sponsored by... no, I'm not allowed to mention them either because I'll get in bother. We've something a wee bit different today, don't we?
Yep, big time.
Because we're always... I mean, every time we're recording a podcast, every time I'm commentating in the nature of the job, anytime you're speaking to players, it's coaching. And it's coaching, and it's training, and it's developments and coaching. And it's probably been exaggerated over the last, year and a half of sorts, probably, with the new rules. And it's given everybody, it feels, a reset to go from the same spot and who can adapt the best. But Kerry ended up going to win in the All-Ireland last year, so it's kind of just the same. Nonetheless, it is unquestionably, I feel, just... Are you happy with the rules?
Am I happy with the rules?
I see the way you're asking a question there. When I ask you a question, means that you're thinking about the answer, which means you're probably not.
I think there are a few little things about implementation, but the rules themselves
overall
and why they were brought in, was there a necessity to bring them in? I felt there was.
Right.
I think Gaelic football was really, really suffering, and I think now we have a game that people can be proud of. I think it was a very challenging year last year for everybody, especially from a coaching point of view, because things were changing from week to week.
Yeah.
There was a lot to get across, and I think, to be honest, players deserve a huge amount of credit for the way they adapted, and then obviously coaches, backroom team, managers, referees. It was a lot to take on board. I thought we had rules and a system that we could really get our teeth in, and now we have tweaked and changed things a little bit again, which again is frustrating, because you just feel as if, we have this nailed. Not nailed, but we've adapted to it, and then the goalposts get moved a little bit. We said the goalposts never move, but they have done over the last 12 months. But if you, as a rounded question, have they helped? And I'm happy with them, yeah.
Right, okay. And I think even the way you answered that shows just the difference between an inter-county manager and I would imagine players, and trying to get their heads around the challenge of the change, manipulating them. It sounds a harsh word, but that is the reality of it, and trying to make it work for you and take advantage of it. Whereas maybe the normal 5/8, like myself, who, yes, is into it in every possible way, but, well, let me even simplify it even more. Commentating the games.
Yeah.
I am commentating a different game. That is not an exaggeration. So most people are watching it on television, on their phones, on the website, on iPlayer, on wherever they're at, or they're just at the games. And I think the overwhelming majority of people are thinking, great job, Jim and co. It has worked. So I suppose it's tapping into that wee bit where people are looking upon it in a different way.
Well, having once spent some time as a co-commentator, the toughest thing that you can do is trying to fill while the ball is being recycled. Now, I know there's still, a bit of that goes on, but not near to the degree that it was.
Do you know what? Actually, it was the second commentary of the year, and it was Armagh against Monaghan, and Armagh hit, I think, 127 that day. Monaghan hit 18 points, so it was a high-scoring game. There was a couple of times when the ball was being recycled back and forth from sideline to sideline, and it was nearly a throwback. I nearly actually forgot what to say in a wee bit, but which I thought I immediately recognised that this is good, and a recognition of how the game has moved beyond. But before that, and during that, I wouldn't call it bad days, but those challenging times for the normal 5/8, and out the other side of it is the man sitting in front of us right now, Dr. Eugene Young. How are we, Eugene?
That's correct, Thomas.
That's correct, yeah. Doctor, when did you pick up the doctorate out of curiosity?
Way back in late 90s.
Oh, right, you're a long time doctor.
I am, I. And I
Not one of these
suppose-
more recent Peter Canavan ones.
No, I'm going to say a real one, but that would be the wrong thing to say.
Listen, it is great to have you, man.
Is Peter Canavan a
Oh,
doctor?
he is a doctor. Yeah, he got one. I got
No,
university.
doctor, wasn't.
Yeah, but you know what? He deserves it.
No,
He deserves it. He deserves it.
I must be due.
Yeah. Dr. Oisin McConville. Tell you what,
I'd love that, boy.
we'll be there.
I'd love
I would. No, I would love it.
Do you get the strawberries and cream and all that? Because I never got that first time round.
You deserve it as well. The impact you've made in people's lives. You
Good to
deserve
see
it as
you,
well.
Eugene.
thanks, Austin.
So, Eugene Young. So, for people that don't know you, Eugene, former Gaelic footballer for Derry, international basketballer for Ireland. That slips by a lot of people's attention. And has just retired from, what was your job?
My job was the Director of Coaching and Games Development with Ulster GAA. So that's for about the last 20 years.
So you've been there throughout all of that, at the cutting edge, in a way.
I've been there when Ulster GAA had 3 people employed, which was Danny Murphy, Seamus McGrattan and myself.
Wow.
And that's grown from 3 to, I suppose, there's around about 60 odd staff now centrally that help and support the counties.
So when you look back now, what age are you now, Eugene? That's not too personal.
I'm 66.
66. Looking well.
Pension age.
Pension age.
That's why I'm going.
Looking well. Full head of hair, good skin. You're going well. When you look back now, what are you thinking? Like, what way do you look back upon coaching? Its change. It's always in a state of flux, it feels, in a way. But what way do you just look back on it?
I suppose that the main thing for me looking back is coaching different groups within the GAA and how that has come along over the last 15 years, you know. So like the GAA for All and Cross Midland, a good example. Not Oliver, Aidan Short is one
Yes.
of the front runners in that, you know. And we bring them together for an event.
And for people who are not sure what that is,
That's really for kids with disabilities.
yeah.
Other programs, wheelchair hurling, another example of a program that wouldn't be about unless we really had our thinking caps on and tried to hit those target groups. But also the whole integration thing, which is topical now at national level. Like we had integration officers in place as far back as 2007 for Camogie ladies football, and we are well integrated in Ulster. Maybe not in the boardroom, but certainly at what's going on the ground. So those developments, I think, over the last number of years, not the elite stuff, which is another discussion, but all that participation and, you know, walking, hurling and Gaelic for mothers and all that sort of stuff is a real innovation in GAA and has brought a whole range of different groups in. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. I think the Mothers for Others thing is the thing that blows just about everybody's mind. I should just mention that we have picked probably the worst place on earth to record here today with next door to pretty much a factory. So you'll hear the beep, beep, beep going on back and forward, just in case you're thinking, what is that noise that keeps coming back and forward? There's so many elements to it, like wheelchair hurling. Like I remember when that came out, and it blows your mind just as a concept, whereas now it's kind of fairly normal. And God forbid, but if some of me own ended up having to be in a wheelchair, you'd be thinking, okay, well, like, could we maybe try this? Which is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
And the Gaelic Mothers for Others, I think nearly above everything, because there are the mothers, like, it's a great name, whoever came up with it, your mothers and others, so you don't even have, just if you're kind of maybe never played before, of an age or a standard, I'm watching my words here, but it just involves everybody, and it is, like, you're not going to play senior inter-county for Derry unless you're good enough. You're going to play senior football for Maherfelt unless you're good enough, but the mothers and others concept is genuine for everybody, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, same dads and lads. You know, so I can go along with my young fella and play in a tournament or play in a game that everybody gets a chance to touch the ball and have a good time. And I think a lot of the other governing bodies have actually picked up on the whole concept. And as you know, I'm involved with Maherfelt Titans, and I take the ladies on a Thursday night, and we go away and play tournaments. The score's not counted. Everybody gets equal court time. They all come away with a red face and have had a good time.
Yeah.
And from their own sort of mental health perspective, I think it's huge. That particular group that I work with, there's lots of issues going on for those mothers and others.
Yeah.
And a Thursday night is their get out of house night, So
Yeah.
I think it's the same across a lot of sports,
I know somebody involved in that. For full declaration.
She's definitely glad to get out of the house.
Yeah. That's when you started talking around maybe the areas of mental health. I started thinking, yeah. So my wife does play for the Magherafelt Titans in basketball. My wife was a netballer back in the day. She never played basketball. Loves it. Plays with your 3 girls as well,
correct.
Eugene.
Yep.
And even from her perspective, we live in Magherafelt, where I'm from. Kirsty's not from there. She is of Tyrone blood, and that's a big thing, moving to a different place, and she loves it, and all those wee bits and pieces are so important. And I had a cousin that plays for it, a cousin who's recently recovered from breast cancer, and just the warmth and love of that group. So I wasn't sure whether to declare that or not, because I feel nearly it's too personal, but it's not. Just sometimes you come across great people, but we go way back. Way back, because when I was first sort of playing sort of senior football, Jerry O'Loughlin was the manager. It was like under 16 at the time, and then we had a decent minor team, and a few of us were playing senior at that time, and Eugene Young came in to coach us for 1 year, and that was the year before you took the Ulster.
That's correct.
Ulster
That's correct.
Council
Yeah.
job, or Ulster GAA as it is now, and like it blew my mind. Remember the harnesses you used to have? Do they still do that, do they?
Oh, I have them in the garage if you need one.
Just throwing around somebody and you're leaning back like a jockey. But we things, like, I'd never seen anything like that. And there was an intensity to it. It was brilliant. It was such an enjoyable year. Lost to Balahi, who were Ulster Club champions, after a replay. Should have beat them, but unfortunately didn't. So that's the kind of background. So we've touched on a few things there. Look, is coaching in a good place, or is it over the top?
That's a good question. Is it over the top? Some people would think that there's too much technology being used in coaching now, GPS and video analysis, and sometimes it can be overkill. But that's at the behest of the coach and the manager. And if they don't feel it needs to be used, then you don't use it. Simple as.
Look, were you ever in a scenario, Eugene, where you're watching coaching going on and somebody's put a lot of effort into it, and I don't even know the nature of your job. Are you observing certain bits and pieces and making corrections? But as someone, have you been in an environment where somebody who you think is, they fancy themselves, they're a good coach, experienced coach, and you're looking at something and you're thinking, that is not the way to do it? How do I address that?
Well, I suppose there was one course we ran, it was a level 2 course, but we were looking outside, we were having a cup of coffee, looking outside, there's a session on, and the coach had 12 kids lined up, one behind the other with one ball, and they were kicking the ball over the bar, and we were all standing inside, and nobody said anything, because you have to remember a lot of our coaches that are involved with GAA are volunteers. And my good mate Terence McWilliams, who used to work with me, used to talk about the boy in the concrete boots, the boy coming home in the evening from his day's work at 6:30 into the house, throwing the boots off, grabbing his bag out the door 7 o'clock to take the under 10s.
Yeah.
And those guys don't have time to sit down, plan, or even sometimes go to courses. So, I think you always have got to consider the context and who you're dealing with. Some of our level 2 coaches now that we would have had in on courses, the expectations would be much higher. But I suppose my own coaching, I would always have tried to bring my own coaching into, say, a course that we're running at. And obviously I've had influences like Sean O'Neill, played for him on the Ulster team, Mickey Moran on the Derry setup, Sean Smith at Jordanstown. A lot of those guys, knew what they were about, and anything that I did or anything I tried to bring forward was really modelled on what I learned from them,
Yeah. So Sean O'Neill, Sean O'Neill?
Yeah.
He would have taken you at Ulster when you were playing at Ulster?
Aye.
What was he like?
The night before the final, Sean got us around the table. It was sort of a board table, and it'd be just the Coke bottles, and he set them all out, and he said, this is you, this is you, this is you, this is you. And I was playing wing half forward. So we're going, Christ, this is new stuff. Nobody's ever used Coke bottles before. And then he come to me, he says, says, when the boy sees the size of you, he'll shake in his foundations. I'm going, oh, Jesus. Like, I didn't even know he was marking. Like, and then he says, I want you coming off with your boots white. And like, this was double Dutch to me, like, because I'd never really heard any of this sort of language before. And he looked at me and he knew that I was confused. He says, I want you kicking up the dust on the sideline. Keep out wide. And that was a simple message, you know. So after it was over, I says, Sean, can you tell me who's marking me or who I'm marking? He says, you're marking Páidí Ó Sé. And I says, my God, my foundations will be rattling upstairs. So he was. I had a lot of time for him, and even since I've met him on numerous occasions, you know.
Yeah.
I think he left that year, it was 1980, and Brian McAniff came in then. So Brian took the mantle on from there, you know.
Okay. Mark and Páidí Ó Sé, what was that like? Do you remember that day?
I do. I hit the net twice.
You scored twice? Páidí Ó Sé was overrated, wasn't he?
I hit the net twice. I would say Páidí wasn't too worried about a Railway Cup final, to be honest with you. God rest him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. Like, and I was playing. Joe was centre half forward. Colin McInerney was wing half forward. Middle of the field was Liam Austin and Peter McGinnity. Kevin McCabe was behind me, wing half back. Like, just playing with, getting the chance to play with those guys.
You often hear about how well supported that the Railway Cup was. Was that a big?
Massive. St. Paddy's Day. It was actually the 18th of March. But like, my grandfather was at the match, like he was in his 80s, you know, and I'm a big supporter of the Railway Cup. I just feel it's if you're available to play, you should be able to play.
Yeah.
You know, and I know the schedule's very busy and it's tight and all the rest of it, but doing away with something like that, I just think is wrong.
I think the players even liked it around the rules. You know, I know they were trialing out the rules in Croke Park. We watched it from afar, but I think players really loved that too. You know, being in that environment and getting to play along with other lads, especially lads maybe who hadn't been to college or different things like that. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know why I think you can really tap into what that meant to players was after the game was over, I noticed there was a picture of the Tyrone boys that played for Ulster, and they grouped together and took a photograph on the side of the pitch, and a few of the other, you know, provinces were doing the same. There's a couple of lads even from the same club, I think. You know, that doesn't happen in league games. It doesn't even happen in championship games for your county. So it's that wee bit where, like, if you think about it, that's where players put this is a wee bit different. Sure, we'll capture a photograph here, and players don't really want to do that. So there's something in that. There's something there that illustrates.
We even run an Ulster under 16 camp in the summer, and we bring in 30 footballers, 30 hurlers, and we run sessions for them. We do things like lifestyle and other different areas, you know, that they mightn't get in their counties, and then they play a challenge match. The footballers normally play Dublin come up to the athletic grounds, play there, and we run 2 15s, 4 quarters, and the same thing once the game's over, the lads from the same counties get together, get their photographs taken, and it's a great chance for them to play at a slightly different level, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And also when they go to fill out their UCAS forms, they can say, well, listen, we represent the province.
What makes a good coach?
I think a good coach, first of all, needs to have a good relationship with the people that he's working with.
Does that mean players?
The players and the support team. Like I was very lucky to work with Mickey Moran in the Derry setup, and worked back as far as Eamon actually. 92, I did the sort of physical preparation over the winter in Balahi through to about February.
With Eamon Coleman?
With Eamon, with Mickey, with Sean Smith, and even in basketball sense, Danny Fulton's of this world, who was international coach, coach Star of the Sea. We had a guy, Dan Durkin, American, came over. But you learnt from all those guys. It didn't matter what the sport was, you were learning from them. And, you know, what I saw was where you can build a relationship with players and build a relationship with your support team, then you're more effective as a coach. And I think you've got to take chances. Like Oisin's at the front end of it now, so he can tell us. But you do need to take chances. You need to be creative. You need to look at how you're going to get that edge. You know, whether it's the harness, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And that's about building strength and power, but also about building resilience and a bit of mental toughness. But I think, I think that's what makes a good coach. And then obviously the tactical side as well. The tactical side at the minute's just blow your head, like how you breaking down these defences, and I can see where Kieran Donaghy was so successful with Armagh, because I would say he adopted a lot of his basketball strategies,
You can see that.
I can see that, and I can see the link. And like 10 years ago, we had this man in talking to us about tactics at one of our conferences in Monaghan. 12, 13 years ago, we had Danny Fulton in talking about how to break the zone defence. And it's the same principles. The first way to break it is get the ball back up the pitch as quick as possible. All right, and then move the ball around the zone, break them up, have penetration through. So it's all those sorts of learning all the time, Thomas. I think that's where coaches, good coaches are worth their weight in gold. And a lot of the coaches we would have engaged with in our courses are, they just want to learn. They want to be like sponges, I think we've been very lucky because we've managed to attract coaches from outside of the province up into Ulster to take our programmes, and we learnt from them as well. People like Liam Dunn, for example, came up and did a level 3 team management programme with us, and on that course we had Enda Gormley and 2 or 3 other people, maybe shouldn't be naming names, but those guys, that Thursday night, it was just bouncing stuff off each other, and I wasn't telling them, well, this is what you have to do. You're providing the facility and the environment and the opportunity to have the conversation,
I did I don't know, you're pretty sure you don't remember this because you have thousands of people through, but in the Canaris, that's as far back as I'm going, yourself and Terence, I did the foundation and the level 1 course with yourselves, and I suppose all of the things that, like, I at that time I was probably mid-20s maybe or whatever, it's quite a while ago, but the thing about going in and doing that was that it completely, first of all, it changes your mind about what's going on in a team scenario, so you sort of see it from the coach's point of view, and you get an understanding of, so...
Not just yourself.
Exactly. It's not just about you and how many people you have to manage. And I think for me, it informed me a lot about what was to come down the track, because at that time I was probably helping out with underage teams and different things like that. And then obviously it's moved on from there. I suppose the question I'm trying to get is, from that time, how much has coaching changed, or how much has the emphasis on coaching changed? Because I think the emphasis has swung a lot from, I know we're talking tactically and where it's gone, but I do think there's a lot more about the person who arrives in your change room and what sort of shape they're in, not just physically but mentally.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like we've worked with you on a number of occasions in terms of young players and where their heads are at, and how they can actually manage the pressure. When they go into the, say, under-20s going into an All-Ireland final, like, how are they managing the pressure? And I think there's more cognizance of that now than there's ever been, I think, Oisin, which is a good thing, because sometimes, when we're talking to counties, they'll say, we haven't time to do that stuff. And I'm saying, but, you want to take time to do it because it's important. But we wouldn't be asking you to do something if it's not important. And that sort of thing is important. And you see some of our high-profile players and sometimes how they struggle with the pressure. I think it's incumbent of us to make sure that we look after them, their lifestyle and and they have a go-to person in the county that they know, I can lift the phone to this person and have a conversation. Coaching's moved on, and that's why I think, when I was in Macrofelt, I was the coach and the manager.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's very difficult to be the coach and the manager and look after somebody's lifestyle and deal individually with people and do the S&C stuff. So the coach very much needs to be working hand in glove with the manager.
And are you very clear on that now, that for an ambitious club, like forgetting about county, it's obvious,
Yeah.
But for a club, it needs to be separate.
I wouldn't say that. I think the pendulum may have swung a wee bit too far. I think we have a lot of clubs who want to be like county setups.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to go there, to be honest with you.
Really?
Aye.
But that's a contradiction of what you kind of just said.
I know. But I personally, you're asking me personally, if I was taking Macrofelt next year, I would want to have hands on, but I would be picking the team. So whether or not I could do that is another issue.
Okay.
But I think as a coach, you want to have your hands all over the team and how you want them to play.
Right. So is that maybe just another coach with you? So you're kind of like player, you're kind of like manager, and you're doing coaching because you're doing both.
Yeah.
But you also have another coach with you. Is that
Probably,
the ideal
'cause
scenario?
I don't think I could get it around the pitch now to set the cones out, you know. So
Right, okay.
You do need a bit of support. You know, but another thing is how it's managed. I was involved with Antrim hurlers at one stage. Like I did a lot of fitness testing and you know, program management and that sort of stuff. But I can remember at the end of the pre-season, the S&C guy and the coach going at it hammer and tongue in the changing room one night. That the S&C demanded he get 40 minutes on the pitch, and the coach says, we don't have that time to give you. And it's how that's managed, and it's going to be quite difficult, you know. People need to know their role, but sometimes you need to know when to pass over. Like when I was involved with the area in '92, Eamon said to me, what I want you to do is get these boys fit to win All Ireland. I said, Jesus, Eamon, that's good because we haven't won one yet. And he laughed. But I ran the legs off them in Balahi on a Friday night from about start of October through to the end of February with one ball. I swear to God. It was cruel out in that back pitch. And they went on and did what they did. And I'm not saying it was because of that. Obviously, there's some class players but the coach needs to know what he wants, what he wants done, and whether he gives it to another coach or to an S&C person or whatever. I think that's the important thing. But yeah, listen, coaching's evolved. These new tactics now are the new rules in that. You know, I haven't been in the middle of that because I'm not coaching the team, and I can see how the coaches would be challenged. You know.
Yeah.
The last rules committee, were you on that?
No.
And what did you think about what do you think about the innovation?
I think it was needed.
Yeah.
I think it was needed, and it has created the opportunity for more scores. The 2-pointers are cruel, like. If you're leading by a point going into overtime and bang a 2-pointer and you get beat. But
do you think is it a good rule though? 2-pointer.
Well, I would have always argued because you get a 3-pointer in basketball,
yeah.
You get a 2-pointer and it encourages long range kicking and pulls the defence out. Has to pull the defence out. Like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's definitely worth this.
Is there any one of them where you think no need or don't like it or?
You see, the main issue I have, not the main issue, is it's okay at senior inter-county level, but go down into clubs and stuff like that. Like, God, we didn't talk that much about the referees because we've done significant work with referees. The Referees Academy, we get the referees in and we get them all set up, ready to go, and then we run workshops for them. We've now run a couple of conferences for them. And like Sean Herson comes in and delivers, you know, this is what I see at club level, because most of the referees we have are at club level. How are they going to administer that effectively? There has to be ongoing scenarios where there's a foot in the line or there's a foot inside the line. So that would be my main concern over the new rules. But I think overall, you know, it has opened up the game and it's been positive for the game.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a time where within Ulster GAA you thought about getting coaches and referees in the same room on a more regular basis? Yeah,
we would have tried that through our conferences, like, you know. Yeah, we would have done that over the years. We would have had referees in and talking to the coaches. There was a situation where on a level 1 course, the referee was brought in, but I don't think it was that effective, to be honest with you. He was brought in for an hour, and what do you do in an hour? But there needs to be more engagement with the referees.
We see the bit that you said there. We asked some players, and maybe your conference is once a year. Like what Oisín's saying there, it nearly needs to. It feels that this nearly. Plus the manager's not going to go to that. Like I've been in a couple of those conferences, and they're brilliant. Like honest, I think it's two things there. One, if you've made the effort to go to a conference, a coaching conference which you guys successfully run, then there's an openness there that you want to learn. You're putting yourself out there to try and pick up. So you're surrounded by good people who are there. As you mentioned the sponge word just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is when you go further up the food chain, in a sense, of the inter-county manager and people like, Oisin, he's sitting, he's full on with Wicklow at the minute.
Yeah.
Is he going to go to that?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not, because...
Am I putting words in your mouth there, am I?
No, to be honest, I would
Just
love
the realities of it.
I'd love the opportunity to go to more things like that, because I think it's good. I think it's refreshers even are good, and just to sort of go back to where you sort of came from. But the opportunities, with time and games, is just not.
Every day's a learning day. My book, like, always has been. I go to conference. I've been going on Saturday night to the conference as a delegate for the first time for ever. But every day's a learning day. You go out, you pick something up. And I've been very lucky in the job that I've been in. So, for example, back when I was at the Institute, there used to be a conference across in England for all their Olympic coaches. And at that time, we had an opportunity to bring 3 or 4 of our senior coaches across. So, like I said, Mickey Hart went. Who else went? We brought 3 or 4 of our senior coaches across over the couple of years, And again, they're picking things up and going to things and finding out how other people do it, how they deal with issues and challenges. And that's where coaches move along. And a coach like Oisin, who's coaching at that level, you really need to have a high-end conference for him to get anything out of it. So, he wants to become, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I would assume he'd want to be coming in, listening to, high-end coaches, maybe from other sports. And that's something I think that at national level we could be doing, instead of probably maybe repeating what we're already doing at provincial level through our national conference.
Yeah. Would that be more attractive to the likes of you? So if you're talking about maybe, the England rugby coach, maybe, Josie Mourinho, for example, throwing curveballs out here, or somebody in coaching with the All Blacks, go across to England and sort of a multi-sport. Because you notice that the football, like Roy Keane did his coaching badges with the All Blacks. Roy Keane going to the All Blacks might explain an awful lot as well, in fairness. But it is interesting. Quite a lot of them do that. They go and try and get their work placement, I guess, for want of a better phrase, during their coaching badges in a different environment.
Yeah.
I mean, would that be more attractive to you if you'd...
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose, look, when Joe was with Armagh, he exposed us to a lot of the rugby side of things as well. Obviously, Sean Edwards, Mike Ford. We definitely shook it up along those 7 or 8 years. And
actually, Q was with you as well. Q Campbell,
yes, who's actually still there. Des Jennings. So you're getting exposure to the psychology. And you're getting a different take. Like, a lot of boys on our team would have took a lot of stuff away from the likes of Sean Edwards and Mike Ford. I was trying to get excuses to get out of those sessions. But
I think Armagh did lead out, in their first All Ireland, like this group of lads that Oisin was involved in. They led out on a lot of stuff, like, so okay, stuff happened in the background, but they were putting it into practice.
Yeah.
Dave Alred was in as kicking coach as well, so you get exposed to a lot of those different things. But yeah, certainly if I was looking to upskill, that's I'd probably be the high level lads we have probably aren't going to share. A lot of the stuff that's going on maybe in their camp, so you have to look outside it then.
But it nearly takes somebody like Eugene's level and time and life and age maybe to come out the other side of it where you feel comfortable. Look, here's all that I know. Take from it what you want. Keir McGinney's probably not going to do that with people who are trying to shoot down Armagh. Is that what you mean there by that?
Like the lads who are at the top, and I actually genuinely don't think there's a massive difference coaching wise, but I'm sure there's little nuances that maybe some of us guys are missing that the top lads. But a massive eye opener for me last year was where we sat during the All Ireland final. Actually, semi-final and final, and we were 3 seats behind. For the Meath, who did Meath play? Meath
played Donegal.
Meath Donegal. We were behind the Meath bench, and for the other semi-final we're behind the Kerry bench, and for the final we're behind the Kerry bench.
So normally you would have been sitting up in the corner where the Davin meets
Yeah,
the Hogan.
we'd be
in the
in
box.
the box.
We had a different presentation area last year.
Yeah.
We did, and the thing that I took away from it was that Cian O'Neill, who's obviously had a massive influence on what's gone on, Kerry-wise since going back there, and he never celebrated one score. He didn't celebrate any of the intricate moves that Kerry put together for point. He didn't even look happy with them. I'm sure he was, don't get me wrong, but he celebrated every kick out they got away. Every time they got a kick out away, he was punching the air and he was making sure that the keeper knew exactly, how well he'd done and all that. And like, they're the things that I get a kick out of as well. So if you work on something during the week and you all of a sudden you go in at half time and you've got 80 or 90% of your kickouts away, it's a springboard to win games. If you were to ask me 3 years ago why Kerry aren't winning All Irelands, I'd say because they have a massive problem retaining possession. And not only can they retain possession now, but they're good on the other side of the ball as well. You seen what they did to Armagh in the quarter-final. They obliterated them for 15 minutes and scored 14 points or something. So they're the sort of things that coaches are going after. So like there's a lot of similarities in what's going on in every county, but there is little nuances along the way.
Like we've been very lucky in Ulster to have some of the coaches that we've had who are prepared to share. So I'm going to talk about John Morrison, God rest him.
Yeah.
Like John was an open book. Some people liked him, some people,
He was a bit alternative now.
He was, but some of his stuff was excellent.
Yeah.
So
that's not a criticism, by the way. I just mean that you have to be open to that because John, like anytime you met John it's usually in the press box in Armagh actually for whatever reason, but just like he made your life better being in his company. Just a lovely man.
Well, you have him and Anthony Harkin, who was involved with Donegal and won the All Ireland. Absolutely, he never talked about what you do on the ball. It was all about off the ball, and that's like I picked that up from him. Yeah, coach more off the ball stuff, not on the ball stuff. Not when you're in possession, what decision you're making. It's what's happening over here. So coach that. Don't leave that up to chance. Because sometimes you need to be telling lads or querying lads, well, why did you make that run or why did you not make a run there? So people like Philip Kerr, who's in your own club, like brilliant at underage stuff, and he's written books on it and is prepared to share as well. And I can go through 4 or 5 others who I've engaged with and have engaged with us through our courses and stuff like that, and delivered stuff, and like Sebastian asked Nosh come along and deliver. People 9 times out of 10 have no issue in sharing, But when you get into Inter-county and you McGuinness and you have McGeaney on the same platform, well, I don't think there's going to be a lot of sharing. Yeah. Where was I at a wee while back there when Jim was taking on the Donegal game again, or Donegal show again, and myself and Adrian McGuckin were sitting at the same table, and there was a question to Jim. He says, I'm not saying too much, there's 2 dairy men over there. So he was quite open about it and smiling, laughing. But listen, coaching, no matter what sport it is, like if the ball rolled, I used to run after it, I just love sport, and it was good to get into coaching. I wanted to be a car mechanic, actually. That was my...
Did you?
Of course. I'd served my time by the time I was 15. My dad had me taking engines out and in. But he says, down the road and get an education. So I was kicked down the road because it was the first of 6, But
what school did you go to, Eugene?
I went to St. Pat's Armagh.
Did you? Did you board there? What was that like?
It was all right. I would never. I used to threaten my son. I said, "See you're going up there." And he said, "No, I'm not going up there." Listen, St. Pat's Armagh was brilliant as a school,
Yeah. It was a boarding experience.
Boarding experience was tough,
Yeah.
You're up there on a Sunday night and you're in the study for an hour and a half and out at 9:30 and bang, into bed, get to sleep and 25 in the dorm, 25 lads in the dorm. Madness, absolute madness. But the other side of it was, the teacher there was a man called Noel McClurg, who was absolutely amazing. The time he put in, he wasn't married, but the time he put into us as players, and came up in the evenings and took us for basketball sessions indoors, and it was amazing. Like, and sometimes people forget about your first experience of sport and who that is and how that influences where you go.
Yeah.
But Noel was absolutely brilliant. Like, but boarding was tough. Like, I stuck it out. Like, and a couple of brothers went. They were a bit lightweight, and they didn't stick the pace. They left after O level.
Yeah. It's just different days. Like, it's funny because we were in St. Pat's Armagh very recently, and like a brilliant school, brilliant people involved in it. You come across them all the time, but just that old way of boarding was just
that time. It was troubles.
Days, yeah.
Troubles were like, that was, when did I go up there? 1969, 70. I went up there. Like, troubles were like rife, and like, I remember like coming back one Saturday evening. My dad picked me up after a Curry Cup match, and we're coming back through the Moy, and stopped on the Churchtown Road by paramilitaries, and where you going, where you coming from, letting you know we're here. And that was the environment you're living in. Like,
yeah.
And we were quiet compared to maybe Alex across and that, but I was very conscious. My dad used to think, you're up there, you're safe. But
people would have no prism of what you
what
just
we're talking about there.
Younger people I'm talking about, obviously older people, absolutely. And I'm probably in between where you get a bit of the connection, like, in a sense, but just younger people will be listening to that going, what?
What's he talking about? I know.
Which is great,
And like, there were lads there from all over. Those Shorts and McConvilles, and they were from Cross. They were all up in there, and Joe was there. Joe Bradley was there for a while, as far as I remember. He was way behind me, like, but and that was our diocese. We were in the Armagh diocese, So
yeah.
it was either that or a run to Mahara, which was 3 buses for me to Mahara, into St. Pius's would have been handier. But that's the way it was.
Yeah.
I look back on it fondly, and met some good people, friends for life.
Best lesson you've ever learned, Eugene?
Best lesson for me is don't go in thinking you know it all. Don't be arrogant enough to think, I know I've got all the answers, because you don't.
So that's humility.
Well, it might be a bit of that, but because I run a lot of courses, like we ran residential courses in Loughry College, in a Friday night, there to Sunday, and they were absolutely amazing. And we had people like Adrian McGuckin and Mickey Linden, that calibre of person coming onto our course. And I used to say to the tutors, and John would be one of the tutors, John Morrison, John, we got to open the door here, and we got to let these people talk and learn from them, because they're feet in the ground too. And I think, if anything, that would be where I'm coming from. Show a bit of humility, and you don't know it all. And you have your opinion as well, which is good. But it's been quite the journey, I think, in terms of coaching.
And could humility be mistaken as a weakness? But have we moved on from that? I get the sense we have moved on from that.
Players have got to buy into your gig.
Yeah.
So I have. I took our bow to a championship final. We won it. And people used to say to me, how the hell did you manage those boys? But the first night we met, everybody bought into where we were going. Simple as. They were split in groups, and we had a long conversation about it. And they stuck to their guns. Fair play to them. I cannot speak more highly of them than the time I had with them.
Did you another one?
They are, and they're very close a couple of times, but just Tyrone's tough. Yeah. Tyrone is probably one of the toughest counties. Like, there hasn't been 2 in a row, has there, in ages?
No. 20 years.
And
they've
maintained the knockout, obviously, the knockout system, which
I think there's a pressure on them not to do the knockout, because there is a sad side to that you're gone after a game and that's it. But with that,
you love it, don't you?
I do.
I'm the same. I hope they never change it, because you ask anybody from Tyrone people. Well, Tyrone people love Tyrone, first of all, no matter what. But they love their championship, and everybody else does too. Because they have held their ground in doing that. And actually, what I find, and this is different in every county, their league has more of an emphasis on it than leagues elsewhere.
Good point.
There's definitely a problem in league football, in Gaelic Games and clubs, I find. Just, I find myself, and maybe this is a spotlight, denigrating myself, but You might go down, you're watching the game, you're chatting to a few of your friends, the game's over, you're back up the road, and we won or we lost, and life goes on, but you're not invested in it. Whereas, because it doesn't really matter. Whereas I remember being a youngster, maybe it is an age thing, but I remember going out to watch Marfell play in a league game, and it was critical. It felt critical. When you go to some of them Tyrone league games, like Carrickmore played Loch McCrory. Now I appreciate it's two rival clubs within the same parish, and you've the big boy Carrickmore and Loch McCrory are trying to push up there throughout a number of years, and like you want to see the crowd at this league game. Like, I mean, Carrickmore won the league game. Loch McCrory had a chance right at the very end, and it pulled the left and wide. Now Loch McCrory did beat Carrickmore in the championship semi-final after a replay, but just the interest in it and everything else. I hope they stay with it, even though I get it if you're out in the first round. But it's the best documentary that would ever be made if the managers let you in for a bit of access. Tyrone Club Championship. Follow one or two people in each club and let it unfold in front of you.
Do you ever have a look, and look at the championship we have, and see the crowds pouring in through the gates and go, "This is unbelievable."
Oh, it is.
Because I suppose when you're playing, you never really appreciate it, because you just think, this is the norm. There's another day coming down the track. This will always be the case. But even from an Armagh person, just going to the athletic grounds, it's always buzzing. There's always a huge crowd there. But then you go to Clonus on Ulster final day, and it's wedged, and you think, we're an amateur sport. How did we manage to achieve this?
Like, I would be doing the fan zone at the Ulster final.
Yeah.
So like myself and John Morrison and
Tony Scullion there.
Tony Scullion,
He'd be a good documentary.
Oh, absolutely.
10-parter.
Tony and it's like Joe McMahon when he was working for us. All these All Ireland winners, not me, like with the other lads. All these All Ireland winners, and it was all about get photographed with the cup and with the lads. And the fan zone was absolutely mad, like.
Yeah.
And this was before the game. Ulster final is amazing, like. Absolutely amazing event. And, long may it continue.
How big of an effect pre-season competitions does that have on Ulster GAA? No McKenna Cup.
Well, the ex-McKenna Cup obviously is a revenue spinner there for Ulster GAA, and again that money goes back into doing the work that gets done. Most of the staff, not most of the staff, but a lot on the coaching and game side and my side, we would receive funding from the likes of Department of Education to cover a lot of those posts, from Croke Park to cover a lot of those posts. And when we had that Department of Education programme for the primary schools, at one stage we had 30 odd coaches on that programme. That was all coming from the Department of Education. But the pre-season tournament, I think anyway that clubs or counties are going to be playing friendlies anyway. So why not keep it formal and let people know they're on and get a crowd, and it adds to it, But I do think everything's squeezed. I think you must find it like having 7 or 8 matches now in the guts of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, like squeeze it. So personally, I like to see it back where it used to be.
September. Would you go?
But also, the club season mixed in with the county season.
You would do that?
I would, and I would. This is a bit off the cuff, like, but I just think, players should be made available to their clubs when they need them for a league match. I just think everything is squeezed, and sure, it's so squeezed now. That even the All Ireland club isn't still not played within the same year. You know what I mean? So like the Ballygunner still going and playing there a couple of weeks back, like.
Yeah.
So, and I know we were talking about Railway Cup earlier, and we were talking about Sigerson Cup and all those sorts of stuff, like, that. Where does it all fit?
Is there a solution to the Sigerson?
I was involved with Sigerson for lots and lots of years, like, and it was definitely a challenge because you had a group of players, as you knew with Dundalk, you had a group of players that played in the league, and then come to Sigerson, it was all changed because you had availability of your county players. I think Sigerson, personally, I think it needs to be played before Christmas. And it's not about getting it out of the way, but it's about creating a window for Sigerson to be played. and players to be available.
Yeah.
You know, like teams losing their points, Fermanagh losing points because some of their players were playing for one of the colleges. Like that's not on. Like it's not fair on the other players. But yeah, and like to be honest with you, a lot of the Armagh teams and Derry teams and that had a clot of Sigerson players that come through and to play for their counties. You know, so it was. They talk about the pathway. It was a very important part of the pathway when it was functioning and when it was given the respect I think it needs to be given. So yeah, I'd be a supporter of Sigerson.
What about retirement? How do you face into that?
How do you face into retirement?
What way do you feel about it, honestly, though? That's a big thing in your life.
I think I'm apprehensive.
Are you?
Aye.
Why is that?
Because you get up in the morning and you go, and I don't play golf, which is apparently that's the thing you do when you retire, but I don't play golf. Like,
Will you?
I don't even think I will. I cycle, as you know.
Yes.
Do a bit of cycling. A couple of grandkids now. My daughter's 2 are across the road from us, so they do the pick up at school 2:00, and
You're doing that?
I'll do that. I'll help her out.
Design.
Yeah.
Good.
She has a sort of interior design business, so I can do a bit of running for her if she needs stuff picked up and dropped off.
Are you involved in the family life? Because that's a very practical way. Your son, your only boy's living in Australia,
He's in
so
Australia,
there's a detachment there logistically, obviously.
He's in Perth.
And even there, Eugene, as well. I hope you don't mind. I don't feel the need you have to answer that, but I would know Enya. My wife knows Enya much better than me. Lost a wee son. You lost a wee grandson. One thing Kirsty and me picked up is just how openly he's mentioned, and that's a lovely thing. But I guess there's a lot of families could be nearly afraid of that because it's a trigger, as well. So I got maybe caught by surprise, and I wasn't sure whether to ask you or not. So don't feel the need you have to answer.
No, listen, we lost Jack. He was 5, and sad thing, he was at the Ulster final in Athletic Grounds, and Derry won it 2 days before it, like, or 3 days before it. You know, so he got his photograph taken with the players and stuff, and that was an awful tragedy, like, you know. And part of the thing is just to support Enya and Brendan, you know, and the boys, you know, because it doesn't go away. You know, it's always there. Birthdays, you know, his anniversary, and it's just been a bit of a treadmill for the last 3 years, you know.
Yeah. And what was wrong with Jack? Eugene?
Jack, he had a muscle disorder. He couldn't walk. It was sort of delayed reaction. He could pick things up, but it maybe took him a minute to think about it and then to actually do it. And then his swallow started to go as well. So, but he was bright as a button, like, and he went to Tyrone, to the school just out the road, Mackerfelt, and he had started to use eye gaze on the computer, so he was starting to put the words together. You know, I want pizza. You know, so.
Yeah, real life.
Life.
Just you seem a good unit of a family, and it's actually more my wife would say that than I've seen it from afar. But you seem a good. And I think that's just and I hope you take that in the way in which it's intended. It's just a lovely compliment to be directed towards you, and Lorna, your wife, as well, and the kids. You are a good group of people.
Aye, well, you know, you try to bring them up the best you can, but
yeah,
you know, without Lorna at the hinge, like, I'm only the add-on. She's the one who controls things and is driving things on and being very supportive of me. Like I remember taking off one Boxing Day to America with a basketball team, like, to coach them, and she's going, "No other woman would allow you to do this Boxing Day." You know what I mean? I said, "No, thanks very much."
She loves you, man. She loves you.
She loves that sometimes.
She must do.
Yeah. So it's been good.
So future, you're optimistic, a wee bit apprehensive of retirement. You're going to have a lot more time.
Aye, listen, I'm going to obviously try and travel a bit. And
would you like to get involved in the team again,
things.
Eugene? Just be careful what you say, because a lot of people do listen to this.
I'm not just at the minute now. I need to draw a breath a bit, you know, and take stock and it's a massive commitment once you get involved. Like, I've been involved with Sigerson teams. I've been involved with Derry, with Eamon for a while, Mickey Moore. I was involved with Brian Mullins and the team there during that period. And that was a real tumultuous time in terms of all the stuff that had gone on with Eamon. And, you know.
How difficult was that? Because that was
a real difficult time. I felt so sorry for Eamon, because I knew Eamon, played under him, and did a bit of work with him in 92 into 93.
And for people that are unaware, this is when Eamon Coleman was Derry won the All-Ireland in 93, had a humdinger of a game against Down in the opening round of the Championship in 94, and was sacked, essentially, from his job.
Yeah. That was a bit of a challenging time.
Yeah.
You know, particularly I can remember when Mickey took on the team with Harry Gribben and Denny McKeever. He rang me. He said, "Will you come in and help out with the coaching?" I said, "Mickey, is everything sorted?" And he says, "It's sorted. Like he's not coming back." And I says, "Well, if that's the case, then yes, I'll take the opportunity." So I did go in and give a hand. But the first, the players were still protesting. Like
Players didn't go back.
Because the first session we had in Kilrea, Adrian Logan was there, and I said, "Adrian, I hope you're not here to report on this." He says, "Well," I says, don't do that. Just give us a bit of a time really to get this sorted." But anyway, like, the boys were in the change room, half came out and trained, the other half didn't. You know, and first match was against Laois, I think it was, in Celtic Park, and we had 12 players. And Mickey says, "Can you get somebody to play? Pick somebody up," and they rode up. I picked up my cousin, Francis O'Neill, and Francis came on as a sub in the second half and got a National League medal that year. Won the National League and only played 20 minutes. God.
I know, I feel wrong laughing about this, but just
It's just like, it was all surreal. Like,
yeah.
but the boys got their act together and they won the National League that year. It's not that they didn't have the talent, like they did have the talent.
Yeah.
And then Tyrone took us with 13 men in the championship, which was a bittersweet pill.
It was.
But fair play to Tyrone.
But they were great days. Like that rivalry, that 95-96 Derry Tyrone was hot stuff.
It was hot stuff, yeah. But yeah, it's been good. Looking forward to good health and all the rest of it, to enjoy it.
Brilliant. Any last question for Eugene here before we wrap it up?
I was just saying,
Coach to coach.
I'd say you're down the lane, you'd be itching to get back in.
I think so.
And then you say, you know what, I'll give a bit of a hand, and all of a sudden you find yourself with the balls in the boot, cones in the boot, and the keys of the lock up, and you think, how did I get myself into this situation?
Taking the under sixes at the and that's a bit of an.
Where's that? Moneymore? Brilliant.
There's only like 12 of us, like 12 of them.
12 of them.
But
do you enjoy it?
taking on the sixes?
Yes.
Of course.
You do?
Well, we Paddy and his wee boys started, like, so it's a bit of an interest there as well, obviously. But
brilliant.
It's sort of full circle.
Fantastic.
Because a lot of the kids that are there had their parents at under 8s and 10s back in the day. You know, like Kathy Conway and all that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's sort of gone full circle, you know.
Fantastic. Good people. Brilliant stuff. Eugene, thanks very much. Thanks for coming on. It's just it's nice to press a reset and go. Coaching is it's such a difficult thing, and there'll be people listening to this go, why did he not ask him about that, and why did he not ask? We could ask you about so much stuff, but I just get the feeling you'll go away, you'll reset, you'll do a bit of travelling, you'll be on the bicycle, and then you're going to pop up somewhere. Just the phone.
We can bring in you to do Malin de Mizzen next year.
Yeah. He cycled from Malin de Mizzen with his daughters the whole way up.
That was good.
Great experience, and that was for
Kevin Bell.
Repatriation Trust.
Amazing.
You give him his debut at Marifald.
Did I give him? You did, actually.
Yeah.
He came on as a...
Yeah.
He hasn't looked back.
That was the high point.
I was going to say...
You going to say what?
On reflection, my question. Use judgment.
You got in there right at the
That
very
was
end.
good. I enjoyed Wackerfeld.
Okay, brilliant stuff, Eugene. Go well. Enjoy retirement. Thank you for jumping on
Thanks,
and
Eugene.
taking
Appreciate
part.
it.
Yep.
Really great seeing you, man, and good luck with everything that's around the corner. Back taking somebody next year. And most importantly, money more under sixes.
Most important.
Most important. Many more podcasts on BBC Sounds and many more GAA stories on the BBC Sport website. But from the great Eugene Young, Oisin McConville, and myself, thanks for listening.